Hey folks, this is Hal Shurtleff with Camp Constitution, and today we're going to be doing the 2022 in review. Hey, that rhymes. Anyway, I was hoping to do this sooner, towards the end of December, but we had some bad weather and some technical issues, and so I'm doing it in my home up here in Alton, New Hampshire. So I'm just going to go over some of the things that we accomplished in 2022 and then talk about 2023 and beyond. So first off, we had just about another full house at our annual family camp, which took place at the Singing Hills Christian Camp in Plainfield, New Hampshire. We didn't have as many as the year before, only because there were a few rooms that weren't available to us. And you're looking at the group photo. You're looking at a group photo that was indoors because the photographer, it was raining the day we took pictures, so that was the best we could do. But we had a great time, and we had some great instructors. And if you go to our YouTube channel, or Rumble channel, you'll be able to find the classes online, almost every class that was taught. We didn't videotape the young campers, the junior campers this year, except for their parade, their classes. But we had, and on top of that, we had some of our marksmanship classes on tape, on video. Professor Willie Soon did a couple of amazing classes on how climate change or science has been politicized. Pastor David Whitney of the Institute on the Constitution gave a few classes, and we had Jonathan Alexander of Liberty Counsel, and just some great instructors overall, and it was a great camp. I'll be talking about next year's camp. So we have something called the Samuel Blumenfeld Archives, for those of you familiar with our camp. Sam Blumenfeld was a homeschool pioneer. He was a dear friend of ours, mine, and those most of those at camp. He passed away in June of 15. He left us his most of his library, his papers and recordings, and thanks to Mr. Mark Affleck, who is our camp newspaper editor while we were at our family camp, and our webmaster Eric Conover, they got the 200 boxes that Sam willed to me, 200 boxes of books and other items, a lot of unpublished manuscripts, and we converted it to PDF and MP3 and 4. So we've been doing this, I think, since late 15, early 16. So let's review some of the stats. 750,000 views, and these are not necessarily 750,000 people, but views of the various items, and there's hundreds of items, videos and PDFs of books and articles and so forth. 1,400 Alpha Phonics workbook, and this is the incredible, the most simplest thing that Sam did was also most important. The Alpha Phonics workbook is a means for people to teach their children and anyone else, in fact. A lot of adults who have learned how to read using the Look-Say method or are considered functionally literate are able to learn how to read properly through the Alpha Phonics. And that's a lot of people, folks, 1,400. That doesn't mean 1,400 people. It could be, 5 or 6 people could each be using those Alpha Phonics. And the manuals, the instructional manuals, a little over 8,000. And then a lot of his other books, we didn't tabulate, but, thousands of his other books and newsletters. And we've got about 2 weeks worth of audio and video. So if you just played starting off at the first audio and just kept going, it might take you 2 weeks. Now you see a picture of these nice folks from Zimbabwe, and they're holding up copies of, well, this one is the Phonics for Success, but we've also mailed them copies of Alpha Phonics. A gentleman who runs a private Christian school in Zimbabwe, in Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe, reached out to us about 1.5 years ago, and we've been mailing him and his students, mailing him actually, copy cases of the Alpha Phonics. And we actually, I said, all I'm looking for is maybe just a few videos of you or your teachers using this in your classroom. And he's just so excited about introducing this program. He's actually introducing it to some of the government schools. The ironic thing is that this is more well received. The phonics is more well received in his country, which is for the most part, a communist country, than it is here in the United States. And but we do have lots of people looking at our materials and using this great resource. And we encourage you to go to the website, campconstitution.net, go to the Blumenfeld Archive drop down, and all we need is a username in an email, and you have unlimited access to this great resource. So please share it. So there are a lot of other things that we have a handwriting course on this, teaching cursive first, and basic arithmetic as well, that people should be aware of and take advantage of. Now, my wife and family moved up to this beautiful area. It's called the Lakes region of New Hampshire. And wherever we are, we encourage people to make an impact in your community where you are. And now, our house is a residence. This isn't our official address, but we've had events here. We've had barbecues, and we sponsored 2 miles of highway, Route 28, on the Wolfboro, New Hampshire border. We participate in the Alton Old Town Week Parade. We actually came in first place this year. We had a lot of help, and we had a great float. We had a financial an award plus a nice little trophy. And we also write a column for a very popular weekly newspaper called the Weirs Times. And the editor has become a good friend, and he comes to our events, and we send him news releases for our various activities, which turn into really ads for us, and it doesn't charge us. And some of our articles end up on the front page of the paper. And in the paper, we always encourage people to reach out to us to get a free copy of the U.S. Constitution, a pocket copy. And over the last 2 years, I've had lots of people reach out. In some cases, I meet with them. In some cases, I'll mail them. And just a few weeks ago, as a result of this front page article, we had the Daughters of the American Revolution chapter leader in this area request some constitutions, and we were happy to donate them. They were very grateful. So we're making good friends up here, making an impact. Now, Camp Constitution Press, we didn't come out with anything new this year. We're still maintaining, getting our good material into the hands of as many people as possible. You see the booklet in the center, Major General John Stark, that we reprinted. That was originally from 1972. The gentleman who was the founder of FunSpot and owns the Weirs Times since passed, but I left one off for him, and I found out a little bit after he passed away that the booklet was on display during his funeral. We do have a couple of projects underway. One of them is to reprint, and I wish I held it in my hand. I meant to bring it with before I videotape this. It's a book called The Formation of the Union Under the Constitution. 800 pages. We have a PDF of it on our website under downloads. And this great book reprint is some great information. It was published by the U.S. government to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the U.S. Constitution. There's a letter by John Hancock, as he was governor of Massachusetts, against an Article 5 convention. There's a quick question and answer chapter, and one of the questions they ask the question, does the federal government have any involvement in education? And the answer was no, they have no involvement in education. That's left up to the states. So this was a New Deal Democrat government that published this, so we thought it was pretty fascinating that that's what they did. And we have a radio show which we've had since 2016. It originates on WBCQ The Planet, a shortwave. We also upload it on many formats. Podomatic is sort of the mothership, but SoundCloud, Amazon Music, iHeart, and Podomatic, we keep tabs of who's listening. And right now, we're generally in the top 10 for the conservative category. Sometimes we're, depending on what we're uploading. And not only do we have our show, but we also have some old classics like Gary Allen speeches and a few others. So this year, I should say 2022, we got almost 6,500 downloads and a little over 1,100 plays. And we really don't know. Sometimes people reach out to us, usually they don't, so we're not sure what else they're doing with it. They download it, they might be listening, they might be sharing it with other people, but it's all about getting an important word out. And we've had some incredible guests on our show over the years, and last year was no exception. And many of these guests end up becoming friends. Sometimes we meet them, sometimes we meet them through the internet or through a book they've written. One of them was Vince Ellison. He was an author of a couple of incredible books. I saw him on Fox News, I saw him on Newsmax. One of the books he has, I think it's called 25 of the Most Damnable Lies of the Democrat Party. got a chance to meet him in Lynchburg back in August of 2022, and he's going to be at our camp next year as an instructor. Our YouTube channel and our Rumble page. Now, the last few reports I'm mentioning that we've been shadow banned, I believe, on YouTube. We used to get about 65 to 70,000 views a month, but we have doubled in the last few months. We're up to about 10,500 views a month, and we were a little under 7,000 subscribers towards the end of December, and I made a posting that said, let's get up to 7,000, but we got close to 72,000. Sometimes you get an old video, something we uploaded 5 or 6 years ago, even 10 years ago, that gets rediscovered, or maybe discovered for the first time. And one of them is the Dan Smoot report. He gave a little talk on republics and democracies, and that one is just not going viral, but it's getting thousands of views, not maybe tens of thousands hopefully, but it's really encouraging to see that. And so we got about 70,000 subscribers, 70,000 views, but the last few months is when we've really grown. I think we got most of our views just in the last few months. And now, of course, that might be a drop in the bucket when it comes to many of these other channels that get 1 million views, but I think of the content. You know, we've got some serious stuff. Our topics are really important, so it's not fluffy stuff they're getting. But one way to help us grow is you watch this video, share it, like our YouTube channel, and share it with other people on your social media, your email blast, or what have you. Now, Rumble, we were actually slowly taking most of our YouTube videos and downloading them and uploading them on Rumble, because we do expect to lose our channel at YouTube. We got one strike, and we got a second strike, and then I appealed it. Surprise, surprise, they accepted my appeal. But they can take a video that's been there since we started this, I think 2010, and say, oh, it violates our policy, and it's very arbitrary. So that's why we've been doing that. But on Rumble, we're growing. It's not nearly like YouTube, but we had a couple of videos that got close to 100,000 views just in a few days. Unfortunately, we didn't monetize them. I don't know why. But so some of the classic videos that we've uploaded over the years, we're now putting on Rumble, and we do encourage you to come to our Rumble page and subscribe to it. So I mentioned just Rumble, just in December we've got over 1,000 views, so that shows you a big increase. So 2,000 views for the whole year and 1,000 views in December. So that shows you how we're growing. And about 140,000 views all time, and that's just, we've had the channel for a while, but we haven't really done much with it except for the last couple of years. Now we have what we call Camp Constitution Media. That's basically me or someone else with a video camera going to some event. Either it could be one of the events that we host or sponsor, or it could be an event that other groups have sponsored or that we're invited to. And I think we actually have more than I have listed here, but Battle of Lexington reenactment, we actually got a press pass, and we upload these, and these are very popular videos. This would be the Battle of Lexington in Massachusetts. That would take place in April. The Massachusetts Hope Homeschool Workshops, we actually gave us a couple complimentary time slots to, usually have to pay to have a workshop or a time slot. And both Reverend Kraft and I took advantage of that. We were very popular. We uploaded those videos. Memorial Day here in Alton, New Hampshire was a beautiful occasion, and we videotaped that. And the people around here very much appreciate that. Some people might have their little cell phones and get a couple of minutes of something, but it's good to be able to get the whole thing in. Our third annual Memorial Day barbecue, which took place in Lexington, Massachusetts. We hosted Dr. Rick Scarborough from Texas. We had, I think, 4 or 5 speaking engagements, and we videotaped maybe 1 or 2 because some of the presentations were similar, so we weren't going to run 5 of the same speech. Independence Day barbecue, which we held here, some of the present speakers, and most of the speeches would be short 5 to 10 minute presentations. Our first annual weekend family retreat, which I'll talk about, we had some great instruction there, and we uploaded those, most of those. And we have actually been having what we call Camp Constitution for a Day, or Camp Constitution in the County. This would be Aroostook County, Maine, where we would, from 9 o'clock maybe till 2 o'clock, we have classes. Edith Kraft comes up, and she has a program for the little ones. Reverend Kraft, Mr. Jack McCarthy, a good friend of us in Aroostook County, and maybe a few other speakers. And we do very well with these events. We had, I think we had 3 or 4 in Maine, and we had one in Connecticut just the first week in December. Very well received, and we really love doing it. We started something called Catching Fire News. I should say we. Tom DeWeese, our good friend from the American Policy Center. It's a online news source, and Tom offered me a time slot or show, and I've been doing them. I try to be faithful about one a week. I might miss a show here and there, and I've been able to interview some great people. A lot of times we'll take the interviews, turn them into audio, and that becomes our radio show as well. So catchingfire.news, you can go there and you can not just look at what I've done, but more importantly the other instructor, the other host. There's some great hosts there. And it's not as big as Frank's speech with Mike Lindell, but we're getting there. And one of the things we've noticed, though, people, conservative types, are tuning out Newsmax and Fox News to some extent, and they're looking for alternatives, and they're going to places like Frank's speech and many, many other sources. And I think Catching Fire will be catching on, and there'll be lots of people watching that. Our Speakers Bureau, I'm just going to lead the copy. We had over 60 engagements that we either hosted or were invited by other groups, which include a speaking engagement at the Young Women for America's Convention in D.C. That was a great honor. It was actually the Young Women of America, which is an adjunct. I got a chance to meet the leader of Young Women's, I got a chance to meet the leader of that group. And we took a bus ride to D.C. To visit the Bible Museum, and Mr. Rick Stope of the Liberty Church had me giving classes on the bus going down and coming up. Reverend Kraft was preaching, and that was great. We had a great time doing that. And we also, North Point Bible College in Haverhill, Massachusetts on Constitution Day. This was the second year in a row. And finally, after 5 years, I'll get into that a little bit more, we had a Christian flag raising ceremony in Boston that we hosted, and Liberty Counsel was obviously a big help. They did most of the work, but we had some folks with sound equipment. We had a Christian recording artist, Mr. Ben Lane. You go visit his YouTube channel, L-A-I-N-E, Ben Lane. And we had a great time. There's a couple hundred people, and it made media all over the world. And we had, and now we didn't sponsor it, but there was a Christian flag raising in nearby Revere, Massachusetts, which we participated in. I mentioned earlier, a Connecticut homeschool group hosted us for a day. And we have events New England, New York, New Jersey, Virginia, and wherever else. In Florida, Reverend Kraft and Edith have been going down to Florida, to Naples, for the last couple of years. A pastor down there saw one of our videos of Reverend Kraft talking about color, communism, and common sense, and it's the 1619 Project and CRT, and he's very impressed. So actually they're going back down again here in a few weeks. Camp Constitution in the News. Well, it would take me about, 8 hours to go over every single article that was either online, hard copy, on the radio, or on television. I would say we got more media coverage in 2022 than we've gotten all since we started. And most of it, with a couple of exceptions, dealt with the Christian flag lawsuit, which we won 9-0 in May 2nd, I think was the date. And then, we were on Newsmax, we were on Fox, we interviewed by NBC, ABC, CBS, Epoch Times, the New American Magazine, and just dozens of others. It was a very exhausting but very exhilarating time. And I just tell people, God gets the glory, because it wasn't us that did it, it was God. Supreme Court 9-0. We actually had a rally in front of the Supreme Court. We had a prayer vigil the night before, and it was just a great time. And then we had our flag raising with about 200 people. We got there the day before. Now I'm an hour and a half, 2 hours from Boston. I grew up in Boston, so I'm very familiar with the city. But we walked around the flagpole and prayed. Reverend Kraft, Edith, a couple of Liberty Counsel staff. It was very, and we actually had some homeless people came and asked for prayer. It was a very moving experience. And this was the headline on the Boston Herald, I think May 3rd. So, May 3rd. Supreme spanking. High Court says Christian flag should fly at City Hall 9-0. And just a few articles that we sent, a public flag pole, the Christian flag, and the First Amendment. Even left-wing organizations, left-wing media, with some exceptions, congratulated us. There was one, a so-called Christian Word and Way, that did I guess you could say, a less than friendly interview of, not really an interview. He sent me an email, I called him up, spoke to him for about maybe 3 or 4 minutes, but that's okay. We have to expect that. It's not a problem. And now I do want to mention that the city ended up paying Liberty Counsel over $2.1 million in legal fees. Some of the reports looked like we were getting the money, like it was coming to me. It didn't come to us. We signed a contract with Liberty Counsel. It was all pro bono. If we lost the case, we didn't pay a dime. We didn't pay a dime either way. It was all pro bono. That means, of course, Liberty Counsel assumed all the expenses, and they won. And the city, they negotiated a 2.1 legal fee, so it's not a settlement in that regard, and they deserved every penny of it too. So God bless Liberty Counsel for the great work they do, and we're very good friends with them, and we're going to stay that way for a long time, God willing. So, and I say Shurtleff v. Boston, the gift that keeps on giving, because as a result of the case, there have been a number of towns and cities around the country that have either, excuse me, either allowed other groups to fly Christian flags and other liberty-type flags, or they've done away with any third-party flag. And that includes rainbow flags and flags that come from China. The city of Boston stopped doing it. Plymouth, Massachusetts, they allowed a Christian group to fly their flag one time for a week, and after that, no more flags. Reading and North Reading, Massachusetts, Darien, Connecticut, Southington, Connecticut, Medina, Ohio, Delaware, Ohio. Fitchburg, Massachusetts just recently flew a, they call it a natural family flag, and the very courageous lady that did it, she had the mayor there with her, liberal Democrat, and the flag flew for a week, and there were some people that are not happy about it. So there's a good chance that Fitchburg may end its third-party flag raising, and they cite Shurtleff v. Boston on a regular basis. And yeah, I mentioned Camp Constitution in the news, dozens of interviews, Frank's speech, that's Alex Newman, and a few others, actually Alex Newman, Tamara Scott, and Pete Santilli were 3 people that interviewed me. Yeah, here we go. Rob Schmidt Show on Newsmax, Christian Broadcasting Network, I mentioned ABC, CBS, NBC, NPR, Boston Globe. Boston Globe actually did an interview with us back in February. They came to the Lane House, and it was a pretty fair article, I have to say. You've read some of the comments that people made, the lefties made. Some people were very sympathetic, but they said it was a puff piece. Well, the Boston Globe doesn't have the habit of giving conservative Christians a puff piece. Then we had Dr. Dan Eschenbaum show, and Dr. Dan is on some Christian stations down in North Carolina in the South, and he's actually become a camp sponsor, and I've been on the show several times. And the Dan Ray has a show, WBZ in Boston, 1030 on the AM dial. He has an attorney, and he was very intrigued by the case, and he gave us 4 or 5 interviews, and very sympathetic to it. And I actually invited him to help raise the flag, but he wasn't able to make it. And many others, I can't mention them all. Oh, Ed Martin, he actually does the show in Virginia. He's headquartered in St. Louis. He lives in Virginia, and the show airs, I think, in Southern California. The Ed Martin Movement, or the Ed Martin Show. And there's a picture of Tamara. She's a great lady. She lives in Iowa. She's pretty well known in Republican circles, definitely in Iowa, around the country. And there's a picture of Dr. Dan here, Dr. Dan's Freedom. And we encourage you to look all these people up and support them. Camp, I already mentioned our 2022 camp, and there's a flyer for that. That was the flyer for last year's camp, and we had a great turnout again, and a wonderful program. We've been doing a ladies' retreat, or they like to use the word advance. They think the word retreat means you're leaving the battle, but it really does. That means you're. In some cases it does, but in this case we're just chilling out and getting instruction and learning and fellowshipping, getting ready to go into battle, so to speak. And when I talk about battle, I'm not talking about physical battle. I'm talking about battling the opposition we deal with in not in a violent way. I don't want it. And you see someone with a gun and you say, "What do you mean, Hal? What do you mean?" Well, we believe in the right to keep bear arms. We believe in people should know how to protect themselves and protect their families and loved ones. And that's why we have marksmanship classes. And it's kind of exciting to be able to teach people these things. A lot of people have never even picked up a weapon in their lives. And they realize, hey, this is empowering. But it also requires lots of responsibility. Responsible gun ownership is the most important thing we teach at the camp. And at the Ladies Spring Fling as well. And this was Kathy Lear. She was the guest speaker of last year's camp, last year's Ladies Spring Fling. We have a great, exciting program for this year. I should get into a little bit. Yeah, Amazon. We have an Amazon account, and we have an online shop as well as Facebook sales for my own Facebook page. And we have people have donated books. We received several good-sized libraries. These would be private libraries. And I'm not talking about two boxes. I'm talking about maybe 30 boxes, 20 boxes, some great stuff. So I go through it. Some of it we sell on Amazon. Some of it I'll sell on Facebook. Some of it we give away. Some of it we keep for our own library because we want to have this valuable information. And the exciting thing is not just that we're raising money, but we're introducing people to some of these great books. Some of them are unknown. There's a lot of books that have been written over the years, and if the folks don't know anything about them, then they can't become informed. And that's one of the problems we see in our Patriot community is lots of uninformed individuals. And we, I think, have done a lot to help educate people, previously uninformed patriots, or maybe superficially informed, which is what you get when you're watching the major media outlets. And that's really the purpose. You don't expect to learn everything when you're watching the news for an hour a day. And you know, a lot of times they'll interview authors and they say, hey, we're plugging books. Yeah, well, you know, we're making money. There's nothing wrong with that. But you buy a book and read a book, you become a lot more informed than you did just sitting through a 5-minute interview. Our Facebook page, we get about 50 likes per month. We admin about 8 other pages. We have a page on Gab, and we don't do much with Twitter. I don't have to worry about being banned by anybody. Elon Musk, I don't think will ban us, but we do post on Twitter here and there, but not a whole lot. We're also on MeWe and a few others, because we do expect to be yanked out of Facebook at some point, and we'd like to be able to have that communication with people. We post all of our activities, all of our events. We list almost all of them on our. You know, you go to a lot of groups, they may have a lot of likes or followers. So you go to their events and there's nothing. They don't do anything, folks. That's the problem with these groups. They just talk to each other online. There's a group, we work with different groups over the years, and one group that we've become involved in is called the Mordecai Mission. And it was last year, actually I think it was in the fall of 21 they came up, some of the leaders of the group. In fact, some of them hadn't even met each other. And we're working with them on a regular basis. They're doing some kind of, they're doing events around the country, some revival events that we won't be involved directly, but we'll hopefully get people out to them. And they have their conferences online, and they have online forums, and we've participated in those. So the Mordecai Mission, I think you just go to mordecaimission.org and find out more about them. Great people. Our website, we got about 60,000 views in 2022, maybe not a whole lot. And you'll see that during, anytime we're mentioned in the media, you'll see a big dip for, maybe 150 views. Next thing you know, we get 4, 5, 6,000 views. We had over 200 blog articles, and I write most of them, although we do have a lot of people. What I tell folks is that you want to write for our blog, just email me your copy in a Word document. I can copy and paste it. We have Dr. Peter Hammond that writes for us. He sends me his, he does a regular blog, I think maybe 2 or 3 a week. And we don't take them all, but we take some of them. We added some new items to our camp shop, and we're going to be adding some more. And we added another feature article called the Constitutional Minute. And this would happen. This is about networking. A friend of mine who lives about 45 minutes away from us in Maine, he sends me clippings of letters to the editor that people send to his local paper, thinking, I can follow up on some of these folks. And there was an article called the Constitution Minute. And I looked at the source. I saw, there's a guy out of Texas, Bobby Hillard. And I got a hold of Bob, and I interviewed him, and I said, could we run your blog, your articles on our blog? He said, absolutely. So he sent me, I think, about 25 or 30 constitutional minutes. And we try to get one every week. We don't always succeed to have one every week. We also have something called the Weekly Sam. This is an article with information from the Samuel Blumenfeld archive. Usually, sometimes it might be not directly related to his archive, and we try to get more people involved in learning about his archive. And we do miss a week here and there, but for the most part we've been pretty faithful about getting his articles and getting his name out, and more important is his work. The Lane House, this is something that we manage. We don't own it, but we manage it, and I'm the trustee, and Reverend Steve and his wife have been up here almost, well, they came up here in May of 20, and we have monthly meetings and luncheons, evening meetings and luncheons there, special events, barbecues, and also as a learning center where people come by. We just met some people today. It's Wednesday, I think, January 4th. I think it's January 4th. Anyway, we have some people that we met there, and Reverend Steve have a house church, which is independent of Camp Constitution, although most of the people involved, the house church, participate in some aspect of Camp Constitution. And we had some special events that in fact, we kicked last year off. Day one, January 1st, it was a medical freedom rally in Concord, New Hampshire, at the state capitol, about a half hour for me. I was one of the speakers, and it was a mild day too. It was nice. It was only in the 40s, mid-40s maybe. We had a parade, a float at the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Boston, which was one of the bigger parades in the region, and we were so well received. I mean, there was just thousands of people there, and it was great. That's us here at this, getting ready for the South Boston Day Parade, and we already signed up for it this year. And this is us. You saw the picture below. This was us in Alton, New Hampshire, here, just a few minutes away from us. Massachusetts Hope. That's an acronym. Parent educators, I forget what the H and O stand for, but we've been involved in homeschool shows since 2010, I believe. They didn't have any in 2021, but they reopened in 22. Spunky, our juggler, and he was there making balloons and juggling and entertaining. And the homeschool show was, there were 50% fewer vendors, but it was the busiest homeschool show we ever had. We met some incredible people. We get some incredible families involved with this, and so we were very pleased with your turnout. And our first annual weekend camp, retreat camp in Sentinel, Camp Sentinel, I should say, in Tuftonboro. That's just 2 towns away, and that was late September, early October, and we had a great time. We had about 35 to 40 people. We hope to have more next year, but we're very pleased by the turnout, and it's just a beautiful, and the folks who owned the camp really loved us. They wanted us back, and we're going to be there. And their staff was kind of watching them, not participating, but they were there listening to the instruction and very appreciative of what we had to offer. So looking into 2023, we already signed up for 2 homeschool conventions, St. Patrick's Day Parade, we got the Ladies Retreat, and at the Ladies Retreat we have the youngest elected official in the country will be one of the instructors or one of the speakers. And Julie Wilkinson, who was played in the movie Unplanned. She was the abortion nurse in the movie Unplanned. She's going to give her testimony. Our 4th annual Memorial Day barbecue, our July 4th, or I should say Independence Day. Our 15th annual camp, Alton Old Home Week Parade, 2nd annual weekend retreat, monthly potlucks meetings in Lexington, and we added another potluck meeting in Lebanon, Maine, which is about maybe 40 minutes from us. And the last thing is where the Lord leads us. So we have no idea what doors the Lord will open for us. We probably won't get nearly as much media coverage, but that's not what we're not about getting media coverage. We're about advancing the mission, advancing the kingdom, getting the word out. And I thought I put a picture, but this was something I did a little tongue-in-cheek. I thought I uploaded a picture here. Shurtleff v. Boston, the movie. No, that's not a plan. That's just, and I had a picture of some of the actors that will play us. Dennis Quaid plays me. Morgan Freeman plays Reverend Kraft. Stacy Dash plays Mrs. Kraft, etc. But Anyway, you never know. I think it's a great story, and I've been encouraged to write a book about the flag case, and I'm doing it little by little. I don't know when it'll be out, but I think it'd be a great thing for people to know that you can fight City Hall and you can be successful, and even in areas as liberal as Boston. So how can you help Camp Constitution grow? Well, first thing is keep Camp Constitution and our nation in your prayers. That's the first thing. That's the most important thing. Become a donor. You can donate monthly basis through our PayPal account. I know PayPal is not exactly sympathetic to our worldview, but we're thinking about having another pay source, which we'll be looking into. You can simply make a donation by check, of course, and send it to the address on our website. Monthly donations, of course. Host a speaker. If you're watching this and you say, gee, I'd love to have maybe a speaker from your camp, go to our website, give me a call. You can go right to our website, which is contact, and you leave a message there. Visit us on Facebook. I check this stuff regularly. My email address, which I don't have here, but it's just simply campconstitution1, all lowercase, digit 1 at gmail.com. Introduce Camp Constitution to family and friends. We have plenty of promotional brochures and pamphlets that will be helped to send you. Subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble channels. Follow us on Podomatic, that's our audio version. Write an article for our camp blog. You know, it could even be something that happens in your local community that might encourage people around the country and around the world. And share our social media posts. Oh, there's probably other things you can do, but that's just a few things. So I want to thank you for watching, and I want to thank you for those of you who have been supporting us all these years, making my position possible. With that, I want to thank you, and God bless.